A lot of concern comes from what's happening in Victoria right now. I want to remind Territorians, this is why we waited. We built in a 4-week buffer, 2 full replication cycles of the virus to be absolutely sure this transition can be done safely. The Territory's coronavirus strategy is suppression, and we have landed eradication. We did better than we expected, and we have eradicated corona. This brings new challenges and expectations. We've been a fortress in the Territory, the safest in the nation. I acknowledge that being the safest makes the next step scarier. I want us to stay the safest. I am confident we will. But the hard truth is we can't stay shut forever. We know we cannot wait for a vaccine. We now know we cannot wait for a vaccine. We don't know if and when there will be one. We cannot wait for 0 cases of coronavirus in Australia. We don't know if and when that will happen. We can't stay shut forever. But we must do everything possible to stay as safe as possible while we take this next step. Last week, I explained to Territorians the things we will be doing to keep you safe. We will keep our police on our borders after 17 July, initially for 2 weeks, but for as long as they are needed. We will test everyone who needs to be tested. We have our test, trace and trap regime in place, supported by our rapid response team. I want you to know exactly what that will mean. If or when corona comes back to the Territory, we will jump on it and we will smash it. We will track it down, and if we need to, we will lock down the area where we find it until it is gone. If that means locking down Parap, we will lock down Parap. If that means locking down a remote community, we will lock down a remote community. An OSMAT-style team of doctors, nurses, pathology staff, contact tracers and logistics specialists, supported by police, will be on the ground to control the spread and care for residents. We will do whatever it takes to crush corona again. None of this is a guarantee that coronavirus stays out of the Territory forever. I wish I could give you that guarantee, but I can't. I have never, ever promised you that I can do that. All I can promise, all I can do, is to keep Territorians as safe as possible until this virus can be cured. Whatever it takes, for as long as it takes, all Territorians. But I know those who are vulnerable, those who live in remote parts of our Territory, are concerned, and they have shared their concerns with me. My priorities remain the same. Territory lives come first. We take the threat of corona seriously. This is not the time for complacency. Our mission is not accomplished. I have said that every tool we had in our kit was still available to deal with people from hotspots. Today, I will tell you how we will deploy those tools to keep you safe, to stay the safest place in the country. The outbreaks in Victoria are not spread throughout the state, but in certain suburbs among some family groups and workplaces. Everyone knows the term now, hotspots. These are areas where there has been community transmission or where the experts say it's not safe to travel to other places. The Territory has stayed safe by closing our borders to all states. In the next step, we will stay safe by keeping our borders closed to suburbs that are not safe. From the 17th of July, if your suburb or local government area has been declared a hotspot by your state or Territory government or by the Australian Health Protection Principal Committee, then you will not be permitted free access to the Northern Territory. You will be required to self-quarantine for 14 days in a regional centre and at your own cost before you can enjoy the NT. This direction will apply on the day of your arrival in the Territory. It is probable that some, or even most, of the current hotspots will be under control by the 17th. It is possible that there will be new hotspots that emerge in other parts of Australia. This is about being prepared, using the 4 weeks we gave ourselves to be prepared. This new rule applies in 3 weeks' time for anyone who lives in any hotspot in any part of our country. This way we are ready and we do not make ourselves vulnerable to anyone unsafe living anywhere. We've had a hotspot before at the top of WA. You know that has always worried me. By stopping the people that need to be stopped, by targeting suburbs, not states, we keep the Territory safe while keeping the Territory free. We are putting it in place for the first fortnight to August, and we will extend as required if hotspots still exist. If there are no hotspots, it won't be needed. But if new hotspots pop up, we can bring it back, and it will be enforced. Currently, people who come to the Territory fill out an arrival form to declare where they have come from and where they are going. From the 17th, this will continue with one change. The arrival form will have the same requirements as a statutory declaration. In addition to the current information, you'll be required to declare if you have been or travelled through a hotspot in the last 28 days. It's pretty clear to everyone by now that when you don't follow the quarantine rules, the police find you and they fine you. If someone from a hotspot breaks the rules, the risks are higher, so the consequences will be harsher. Making a false statement in a stat deck is against the law. These laws will apply to our border arrival form. If the cops find you flouting the quarantine rules and lying about it, it will mean a large fine. If they find you have lied on the border form, being to a hotspot but told us you hadn't, it could mean a much bigger fine or prison sentence of up to 3 years. You've all seen the examples this week of a few idiots who didn't follow the self-quarantine rules. The good news is they are the very rare exception and the cops find them pretty quickly. These idiots get fined as they should. But I just want to remind people and warn them, the Police Commissioner's powers don't end there. We've said before, if you show that you can't be trusted to self-quarantine, we will take away your right to self-quarantine and put you into supervised quarantine instead. The police have done this before, they will do it again if they need to. Before I hand to the Commissioner, our message is crystal clear. If you are from interstate and you live in a hotspot area, your own government is telling you the area is not safe and you should be in lockdown. If you are meant to be in lockdown, then you shouldn't be leaving your home. You shouldn't be coming here. If you do leave your home and come here, we will lock you down. And if you break our rules, we can lock you up. So don't come here. For everyone else, the 99% of Australia that's safe, we will be open and we can't wait to see you. Thank you. Commissioner.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, everybody. July 17 is going to mark a very special day for the Northern Territory as we seek to move forward and manage what our new world will be. I've mentioned before that the imperative here and the responsibility lays with people. What we have seen, unfortunately, in recent times with some of our change is that those people that we've enabled to come into the Northern Territory from interstate have been blatant in their disregard of the safety of the Northern Territory and, more notably, the risk they pose. We had an individual who travelled from Melbourne who indicated they're going to go into a place of quarantine, who then turned up in Nooka and commenced work in the community store there. That behaviour is absolutely appalling. It should not have occurred. The individual had great clarity about that fact. We subsequently attended there after some great work by our compliance team. She was issued with a fine and repatriated back into quarantine